The court case, which ended today, they've been found guilty for the murder of a businesswoman.
What the jury heard was an orgy of violence.
The judge told them, you are both morally degenerate.
This was a crime of passion and above all a crime of pure evil.
Sadie Hartley was killed in what's been called an act of demonic savagery.
Good evening, Lancashire Police.
I'm just wondering whether you'd be able to do a check on my boss's address. We've not heard from her for over 24 hours. Her name is Sadie Hartley.
I was in Hawaii with my fiance. We were asleep in bed. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning and we had a phone call from the police.
Emergency. Just arrived at the property. We're going to be forcing entry. There's a female inside on the floor with blood around her.
I don't think there's words to describe the way I was feeling at that moment, especially being on the other side of the world where you can't go and be there and help.
Everyone was smashed the window with gained entry.
I didn't know whether someone had hurt her or she had fallen, and obviously that was the question I asked, and that's when they told me that somebody had done it.
Thanks. Yes, you know, thanks very much for getting this down. I don't know if people have had the chance to see the photographs on the wall. That is a picture of Sadie. Okay, so just keep that in your mind. At least then you can associate and you can see, because when you see these images, there is a health warning because she doesn't look like that now. Police officers attended Sadie's home address last night. They've gone into the address, having forced to open the front door, and it's quite clear that she's been stabbed to death.
Just to update you on the scene, I don't think I can underestimate the sight of what I saw, really, in terms of the severity of the attack on Sadie. I think it's true to say the extent of the injuries are something I've not seen. Sustained attack, clearly really violent and frenzied attack on effectively a defenceless woman in her own home. So Sadie is on the floor in the hallway, quite a way into the hallway really. It's not right on the doorstep. There are multiple stab wounds to her back, to her thigh, and those kind of areas.
I've been a police officer for 25 years now. If there is anything that surprises me, it's probably the ferocity of the attack against a pretty defenceless lady in her own home. You know, thankfully that is very, very unusual. You know, she's a successful business lady, and sadly she's lost her life in the most tragic circumstances. Just to say really, it's very important to get that justice for Sadie, important to get justice for Sadie's family, so please, please be meticulous in your approach in everything you do.
So if I talk to you now about Ian Johnston, so he is current partner. He left 10 days ago to go to Switzerland skiing, and she was meant to join him this morning.
Ex-fireman Ian Johnston was Sadie Hartley's current partner. He was abroad on the night of the murder, so he's not considered a suspect at this stage. However, he has revealed an earlier suspicious incident.
Previously, she was very unnerved by the burglary that we had in August, felt very unsafe being in the house on her own. It's the first time he's been away since that burglary.
It would appear the person who's committed this offence has come in without causing damage to the premises and then left in the same way, really. So that sort of potentially identifies a number of hypotheses that it could be, going from potentially the perpetrators of a previous crime when she's had a house burgled in August last year, right through to somebody who knows her. You know, this could be a random murder that has absolutely no rational reason for why they murdered Sadie. And they could strike again at any time, of course. Well, we're going back to the scene now. The difficulty in securing evidence is that you only get one crack at it. So we've left Sadie in situ to allow us to do that. I don't want that to be any longer than absolutely necessary. Most of the homicide cases, the victim knows their attacker, and there's some sort of like conversation, some dialogue. Whereas this looked as though it was almost immediate upon her answering the door. We're moving forward now by way of our forensic strategy. We'll get some samples sent off to the laboratory, get them examined tonight, and then we'll see where that takes us.
We've been called in to assist with house-to-house inquiries. Can you just have a look at this one, because that one's number 20. The street itself is a straight-through road with pedestrian access at one end, vehicular access at another. It's only got houses on one side of it, and they're very large detached houses. So there's very few properties overlooking the scene itself.
As the house is so secluded, there's an urgent need for witnesses.
My name's Paul Withers, I'm a detective superintendent working for the Lancashire Constabulary. I am the senior investigating officer on this inquiry.
How are we doing? You alright? Sorry to bother you. Just doing some house-to-house inquiries.
Hi Pam, you alright? Yeah, fine. Sadie from Sadie, I spoke to you earlier, yeah?
We know Sadie was alive at 7:30 because she's communicated from a home address with a work colleague. I feel it may have happened during the course of Thursday evening.
So I've got a list of questions to ask you. The first one being, did you know the occupants of number 8?
I would urge anybody with any other information, please pick up the phone.
Did you see any other suspicious activity or any other suspicious people in the area on the Tuesday that you can think of?
I do remember seeing an older woman. She wasn't doing anything suspicious at all, she was just doing her thing, but yeah, I saw an older woman.
This case is quite unusual in the sense that there doesn't appear to be any apparent motive. You know, we're working very, very hard to try and identify why this has taken place. If it takes weeks, if it takes months, if it takes years, we will carry on and we will be unrelenting in our pursuit of the individual or the persons that have committed this offence against Sadie.
Detectives are reviewing CCTV they've collected from houses close to the victim's home, and they think they've spotted a suspicious vehicle.
These are all £500,000 to £1 million houses. There's Ferrari, there's not Ferraris, there's Porsches, Audis, BMWs, you name it. When we were down there, I didn't see a Clio. Now, is it a takeaway driver, or is it the suspect driving by to see if there's any lights on? And this is the next figure that comes across the road. Now, the Clio's only been gone 4 minutes.
Right. It's in the Renault Clio?
Yeah. Have they done a recce Clio, do you, to see if there's any lights on?
Have they, or singular? Murder weapons in there somewhere, isn't it? Yeah. But look at the arm movements. Has that individual got their hand in the right pocket?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the left arm swinging.
So.
Pretty 99% happy that we have the offender on CCTV.
Right, yeah.
There's about 4 or 5 other CCTV opportunities, Andy, on that close.
Right, okay.
But certainly, mate, the Renault Clio is very, very apparent.
Right, let's talk about some of the individuals involved. Obviously, Ian Johnston's come back, who's a long-term partner. Ian, if you remember, was overseas. He was in Switzerland skiing. He's come back on a plane this morning.
He is obviously absolutely in pieces. Ian has told us that earlier in the week, whilst he was speaking to Sadie, she told him that some flowers arrived for her at the address on Tuesday evening, and she went to the door and saw a person in a baseball cap who handed over what she described as a cheap bunch of flowers. Sadie was clearly unnerved by this, according to Ian. She felt nervous and she thought there might be a link to a burglary that had occurred to that address back in August.
In addition to Sadie's anxiety about the delivery of the flowers, Ian has revealed a new lead, a woman he was seeing whilst he was with Sadie.
From the inquiries we've conducted with Ian, we've spoken to him about an ex-partner of his, a lady in her 30s that lives in the Chester area. Ian describes her as being somewhat obsessive, and as a result of that, clearly we began to concentrate on this lady.
Around 2 years ago, we had a separate relationship with a lass who worked for the chill factory in Manchester. Okay.
She sent a letter to our victim disclosing the relationship.
Okay. If we think about what we know about her, the facts we know, certainly if the cell site comes back and puts her in Hampshire on the 7th, we're not knowing much.
And any other occasion.
Yeah.
The team have used cell site technology to track the location of this woman's phone, a 34-year-old called Sarah Williams.
Despite the fact that she lives over in the Chester area, on the night that we believe that Sadie was handed a bunch of flowers, this lady was actually in the Helmshore area. The hypothesis could be that the week preceding the murder, that this individual made her way over to Helmshore, purchased some flowers, knocked on the door, clarified who Sadie was before handing over the flowers, only for her to return a week later at roughly the same time and commit what I can only describe as a brutal, callous, cold-blooded murder.
This could be a breakthrough, and the team now think they have enough grounds to bring the suspect in for questioning.
Very important that we arrest the suspect this evening. You know, it could be that she's fled the country or she's not about.
As you can see, the Cheshire officers are going in with public protection gear on to the house that we've identified. They are going to have the element of surprise. They're breaking the lock and they're going to make an entry to the premises.
Police! Police!
It appears the occupant that we're looking for is at home, in bed. So we're just going to obviously get her suitably dressed and bring her out of the premises under arrest.
So you're under arrest on suspicion of murder, Miss Lady Hartley.
Okay, why is this lady here?
She's been brought over from custody in Chester at this moment in time. She's under arrest on suspicion of murder.
Okay.
Police have now learnt that as well as her relationship with Ian Johnston, Sarah Williams has a 75-year-old boyfriend.
When we turn up at the address, we get there and the neighbours come out because obviously of the police activity, and they say, oh, are David and Sarah okay? And we say, yeah, who's David? I said, oh, David's her boyfriend. He comes round every morning at 5 a.m. David's married. He's got a child. He's probably the same age or older, if not, than Sarah. And his wife is fully aware of their relationship. He describes the fact that he's been in a relationship with her, in a sexual relationship, that is, since she was 17 years of age. So there is a pattern of behaviour there that he leaves the marital address and his wife and goes round to Sarah's home address at 5 a.m. virtually every morning.
Do you understand why you've been arrested? We do need to ask some questions in relation to these really quite serious allegations. So, have you ever been arrested before?
No.
Are you working at present?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
Sell ski holidays.
You understand the grounds why you've been arrested?
I understand the connection.
Okay. Does anybody need to know you're here?
Yeah, my boyfriend David.
Okay, I need to get some details from yourself.
Yeah. He's got my little dog.
So what have you got?
He's a Parsons Jack Russell.
In an attempt to establish a motive for the murder, detectives have been examining the text messages between Sarah Williams and Sadie's partner, Ian Johnston.
So what about Sarah? What about Sarah's billing? What do we think the catalyst is? Have we found the text message? Have we found that, I'm sorry, but this is ending?
That text message where he has said, this is it, it's ended, that is 16 months ago.
16 months ago?
From that text messages, then we've got the letter from Sarah to Sadie, which caused a lot of problems between them two.
Yeah.
During that time, Sarah has kept in contact with Ian. So not to cause any more problems between Ian and Sadie, he's just dropped the old text to her.
Certainly from her point of view, if you read the notes section on her phone, it's there are essays and essays and essays of fantasy of what she wants him to do, and
that's from her.
That's from her.
Well, that's in her phone.
That's in her phone.
So that's good evidence, that.
Okay, let's just let that sink in.
Let's nail down the communication between Ian and her.
Yeah.
And this almost fixation.
Yeah.
I think the letters are interesting.
Yeah.
Between the deceased and
Sarah.
Ian clearly is a critical witness in this case because the suspect is an ex-partner of his who appears to have a particularly unhealthy obsession with Ian, and we believe this may be the motive, tragically, for Sadie's quite brutal murder. When somebody loses their lives under such tragic circumstances, I always feel for the families. You know, that's what drives me on, if I'm honest. It's imperative that we get some justice for the families that are left behind, the loved ones. Hopefully, you know, people who I've dealt with will have served them very well over the years, and that's what I intend to do for Sadie's family.
My mum was a very fun-loving person. She didn't judge anyone. She literally didn't have anything bad to say about anybody. She was my hero in some respects. There was nothing I could ever fault about her whatsoever. She was looking to retire, and she was really, really looking forward to me and Robert having children and just spending a lot more time with us. I just want her to be remembered for just the happy, lovely lady she was, and that this wasn't supposed to happen to her. The fact that someone has taken her life for no reason whatsoever, I just think it's disgusting. Like, she's got 2 children, she's got a whole family that loves her, and it's just numbing. I feel strongly that it ruined me and my brother's life.
We're just going to go and meet the solicitor, who's here to speak to her client, and we'll then be going into interview with her.
You sorted?
Yeah, thank you. She's going to be talking to you.
Good.
For Detective Constable Bryony Midgley, it's the first time she will be lead interviewer on a murder inquiry.
Is it Sarah? All right, Mrs. Case, you can
Hi, Sarah.
this as well, all right? This innocent lady who's just minding her own business in a home, getting ready to go on holiday, exciting time of life, her daughter's just got engaged, and she has been brutally murdered at her home. And it's horrible. First thing I'm going to ask you, Sarah, is are you responsible for the death of Sadie Hartley?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
14th of January this year, Thursday just gone.
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was at home in Chester. Well, I got home at, I think, about 4. David met me at the house. I'd been sent home from work with a sickness bug. Then he went home, and then I went to sleep. I woke up the first time at maybe 9ish, but that was the dog that woke me up barking. And that's what I did, I wiped up some dog stick.
Despite Sarah Williams' claim to an alibi, forensic experts think they have made a key discovery.
Dom, I know you've got some forensic stuff that you need to show me.
The forensic update I had earlier on was there's some dilute blood in one of the bathroom sinks.
He wants us to send that up in the morning first thing, along with our victim profile.
Okay.
Very quickly, the home address of our suspect appears to have been cleaned from top to bottom with bleach. Sadly, she appears to have missed a very small spot of blood on the sink.
This is a real chink of light now that's come over this case, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, if that is the deceased blood, it should be any charge of murder.
The team now want to find out the extent of Sarah Williams' obsession with Ian Johnston.
Ian. I met him, started skiing on March 11, so I'll have met him at some point during that year. That carried on until we fell out in the August 2014. But yeah, he basically felt that I was too clingy and too needy. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'd say I'm not. And then I wrote Sadie a letter telling her everything that happened. She rang me up, had a go at me, obviously as you would expect. Probably not at all happy. Went to his house and we had an enormous row. Well, for on Sadie.
Were you jealous of her?
No, because the way I saw it is, you know, he's quite happy to spend 12 months cheating on her and messing her about and talking about leaving. You know, it's not something to be jealous of. I didn't see if they had like a great relationship.
She doesn't seem too fazed with the fact she's in custody, having never been in custody before, and for such a serious offence. The only time she sort of made a reaction was when I explained what murder was, and she said, I thought I'd never be hearing those words. So there was sort of an acknowledgement that she was in a very strange situation at that point.
First impressions are at this stage, she's very cool, she's very calm and collected, albeit we haven't put any difficult questions to her. We've just given her the opportunity to tell us what she wants to tell us. So we've got a long way to go with the interviews, but early stages are she's very calm.
The police now only have 3 days to question and charge their suspect, or Sarah Williams will have to be released. It's day 3 of the investigation into the shocking murder of Sadie Hartley, and Detective Superintendent Paul Withers is now in sole charge of the 40 detectives involved in the inquiry.
I'm happy with the way the investigation is progressing. Clearly we still don't have that golden nugget. The blood that's been recovered from the suspect's home address, if that comes back as the blood of the victim, you know, that's quite difficult to explain away in any police interview, and you know, I can't wait for that result to come back. The CCTV on the night of Sadie's murder, we could see that there was a Renault Clio that arrived on Sunnybank. We get the Renault Clio going on the close about 10 to 8. Yeah, it then comes off. Murder then occurs, I would suspect. I really think we probably need a team absolutely thrashing the life out of any CCTV opportunities.
What time were we in there again?
2012, 2020.
Right, the murder weapon. Mick, I need to be 1000% positive, mate, that has not been discarded in any of that wooded area opposite the addresses. Any streams, it all needs doing.
Well, the past few days have been some heavy snow up in this area, and this morning's the first day we've had where the snow is gone, we can search. Looking for the murder weapon, we believe it to be a large knife. We've got no more description this time. It's always hard to search open areas, a vast area, even small gardens take a long time. We just have to do the best we can, make sure no areas are missed out.
The murder weapon isn't the only key piece of evidence. Detectives are now focusing on the suspicious delivery of flowers to Sadie's house 1 week before the murder. They believe this was to clarify where she lived.
I think the flowers are a key line of inquiry. This was a dry run. From the witnesses we've spoken to so far, you know, we believe it may be a possibility that Sadie may have known Sarah Williams. So at this stage, you know, we believe the person that delivered the flowers may not have been Sarah Williams and may have been somebody else.
Now looking for a possible accomplice, detectives get a new lead. Sarah Williams' best friend.
I was out interviewing a witness, a close connection to the suspect, Sarah Williams, and when we arrived there was a silver Astra on the driveway. There had been a silver Astra spotted in the area of the scene of the murder on the night that the flowers were delivered. In that silver Astra, it was reported that there was potentially a bald-headed male and a female. When we went into the house to speak to Katrina Walsh, she revealed that she's got alopecia, and when she removed a hat that she was wearing, she was predominantly bald on top with a few strands of hair. Kit is 6 years old, and we've met through the local horses, basically. Kit wears all the time baseball caps because of the fact that she's losing her hair. Whilst we were sat there, we looked up at the side.
Sorry, mate. Does Sadie say the person is wearing a baseball cap? We've got a phone. If that phone is in Helmshire on the 7th, clearly her status in the inquiry changes considerably.
I believe she's the woman that delivered those flowers, because Sadie said...
The description, the way she behaved,
girl,
right.
But she's got baseball caps everywhere. And I said, when you go out, what do you wear? She went, always wear a hat, always wear baseball caps. So it's going to be her boss.
Right, okay. Kit, who is the friend of Sarah, I think is going to be the lady who has delivered the flowers to the deceased on Thursday the 7th, from the description given. So we're just going to have a quick chat with the people that have dealt with her about Kit's status in the inquiry, which I think is going to change from being a witness to a suspect.
In addition, it's believed that new CCTV footage shows Sarah Williams buying the flowers, accompanied by a person in a baseball cap.
Can we see your face?
No, that's very dealer
purse, though. We need to get that purse.
There's the purse and the handbag as well. That's just
purse is really distinct.
Yeah.
There we go. Very cool. A scarf on.
It's almost like it's a hoodie. There's a bag, there's a hoodie.
The phone of Katrina Walsh, otherwise known as Kit, has now been examined. It confirms that she was in Helmshire on the night the flowers were delivered.
She's delivered the flowers, mate, hasn't she? She's delivered the flowers. But she doesn't self-site in the area or any other dates. As a result of the information that has come from members of the inquiry team, we've made the decision basically to arrest a lady by the name of Kit. We know that the phone belonging to Kit was actually in the vicinity of the home address of the victim on the 7th of December, so hence that's why we're going to effect the arrest today.
Just step into the home, watch your head on the top. Yeah. Okay, watch your head, and just take a seat down there.
As we've come out of our previous interview, there's been a lot of information is coming through. Around the 7th of January, the flower delivery night, she denies going anywhere near that house, denies any knowledge of the house. And there's things coming up now that are stamping holes in her story that we need to challenge Sarah with.
Bryony and the team have discovered Sarah Williams often visited Ian Johnston's former home, which is also in Helmshire.
Holcombe Road in Helmshire.
When have you last been to his house?
To his house to see him. Not since we had that massive Barney, but I've been and sat outside it quite a number of times.
When did you last do that?
Last week, I think it was Thursday.
Was that Thursday the 7th?
Yeah, it was.
We're saying that on the 7th of January, you've gone over to Helmshire, decided to confirm that Sadie lives at that address on Sunnybank by this ruse of having a bunch of flowers. Is that the case?
You have to be out of your bloody mind.
I'd like you to know that at this current time, officers were looking for Kit to arrest her on suspicion of murder. Her phone pings a mast in Helmshire at the same time that your phone pings a mast in Helmshire on Thursday the 7th of January.
Is there anything you want to say in relation to that?
I hope it's not as terrifying for her being arrested, because having people coming into your house at 3 in the morning it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
For somebody who's under arrest for murder, she's very calm. When we just told her at the very end of the last interview that her friend's been arrested on suspicion of murder, because we can put them both in Helmshire at the same time, she looked visibly shocked, and that's the first time I've seen a really big reaction on her face. This poor lady has met an absolutely horrific end. Nobody should have to suffer that, and it's our job to find out who's done it and why, and that keeps you going. None of us have had any sleep, none of us have seen our families, but at least we can still walk home to our families, and that family have lost a member. You know, Sadie's gone for them. They'll never see her again, so that keeps us going.
I want to know everything. I want to know why. Obviously everything to do with who's involved and, you know, how this has come about. I feel like I need to know everything.